Okay, why don't we jump in here? I have a couple minutes past the hour, so I think it's okay to kick off. We'll collect, I'm sure, a few more people along the way. So first off, welcome to today's webinar, Best Practices in Global Payroll and HR Reporting. Thank you all for joining us today. I realize it's the end of the month. We're in the last week of April, and which that generally means for anyone working in payroll, it's kind of crunch time, even though some of you might already be done. But all the more we appreciate that you're taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that I'm personally excited about, believe it's very important, even though sometimes it's maybe a little bit undervalued in payroll circles, and that's global payroll and HR reporting. To me, running a business is a little bit like flying a plane, and that's why we have this image here on the cover slide. There's a lot of moving parts that you need to carefully manage and control in harmony in order to make sure that plane flies properly and smoothly. And in order to do that, in order to control the plane and fly it well, you need to understand what's really going on with the plane. So you need a ton of data, and you need to have that data at your disposal in real time in a transparent and easy to understand manner in form of cockpit, dashboards, and flight instruments. And I think the same is true for running a business. You need lots of data in order to run the company in a optimized manner, and you need that information fast, and reliable, and easy to understand manner. So I'm excited to be hosting this webinar today to talk a bit about how you can implement a reporting environment in your organization that will allow you to manage your business in a more efficient and more successful manner while saving costs at the same time and saving time for yourself and for your team. Now, before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping items for today's session. All the lines have been put on mute during the call to minimize background noise. We will try to leave some time at the end for some quick Q&A, at which point you can unmute your line to ask your questions. If you do have questions during the call, you can raise your hand, and someone from the team here will try to answer your question through the chat. This webinar is also being recorded and will be made available online after the call, and we will share the slides from today's session as well in a follow-up email. So with that out of the way, let me just briefly. I always do that. I always put myself on mute when I try to move to the next slide. Let's try that again. What I was going to say is I'm going to introduce myself and also tell you just a little bit about Payzaar and who we are. If you haven't heard about us, not familiar with Payzaar yet. So myself, I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of the company. I've been working in the IT software and service space for the better part of the last 20 years. Worked at companies like HP and Oracle, and then most recently at ADP. Left from there and started Payzaar, and very excited about technology and innovation in general, and that's really what Payzaar is all about. We're trying to bring new exciting ideas to the global payroll industry. And Payzaar is really the first open global payroll management platform. It's designed to help multinational companies manage all their local payrolls in one central platform. And by doing that, helping you to achieve process automation, data integration, and consolidated reporting, which we'll talk a lot more about today. What makes us different from many other global payroll solutions that are being offered out there is that our platform is designed to be open and agnostic to work essentially with any local payroll that you may already have put in place, local payroll partners you're already working with, or new vendors that you're looking to move to. So if you're looking to learn a bit more about Payzaar, I encourage you to visit our website. You see the address at the bottom, and you can also send us, of course, an email. We'd be happy to tell you more about ourselves and see how we might be able to have a conversation with you about your payroll challenges. So let's talk a bit about what we're looking to cover today. Just a quick high-level agenda. We'll talk a bit about what makes global payroll and HR reporting so challenging to start with. And we'll talk a bit about why we believe it is very important to put strong reporting capabilities in place into your organization. We want to outline what we believe world-class global reporting could or should look like. We'll fit in a sneak peek to give you a look at how we're approaching global payroll reporting and the kind of capabilities that we're building into our platform. And then we'll talk at the end a bit about what it takes to implement that, assuming that you get excited about the topic and you want to proceed and push forward with a global payroll solution for yourself. When we talk a bit about what that can look like. So with that, let's dive right into it and start off by just addressing a bit the challenges that make global payroll reporting complex. And there's a number of different things that come together, a number of reasons why strong reporting in a global context, payroll and HR context, can be quite challenging. Number one, I think anyone in payroll appreciates this and realizes this. When you work in a multi-country context, you typically deal with lots of different systems, different local payroll systems. You might have different HR systems, different systems for benefits, for time and attendance, for your expense tracking. So typically you find yourself dealing with lots of different local and regional or global data sources. So in order to build up a picture about your employees across this myriad of different tools and systems that are in place, typically ends up being quite challenging to cut through all this fragmented data that's out there. That means generally you have to deal with lots of different reports coming out of these local systems, and those different reports will come at you in different layouts, different languages, different currencies, will be generated in different frequencies. Typically, the local systems are also quite not very sophisticated. That can be quite clunky and low tech. In fact, in many organizations, you might not have any sort of packaged local payroll software or any packaged local systems in place to start with. So in some cases, the technology might be as basic as a spreadsheet. So that's something to grapple with. And finally, in a payroll and HR context, the data is constantly in flux. We know there's always changes going on that are introduced into the payroll environment through external factors, new legislation, for example, that may introduce new pay elements that need to be tracked and accounted for, or new compensation strategies that the organization introduces that again lead to the fact that new data elements need to be accounted for and need to be captured as part of your reports. So it's easy to see why a strong consolidated global reporting capability in this heterogeneous, fragmented, and ever-changing environment is quite tricky, especially in a multinational context. Now, if it's so challenging, then you might say, why bother? What should we really care? Is it really that important to have consolidated global reporting capabilities put in place? Well, we believe there are a number of key reasons why that kind of reporting capability is absolutely critical. Number one, when we're talking about employee data, I think it's important to understand and recognize that for most organizations, their employees are not only their most important asset, but also particularly one of the biggest, if not the biggest, cost block in the company's P&L. So it's absolutely critical to manage that cost in a careful and deliberate manner in order to ensure profitable growth for the company. Secondly, your senior leaders in finance, in HR, and in the line management roles will need strong reporting in order to make important decisions based on reliable facts and data, especially in the current economic environment with lots of uncertainty and lots of new challenges being thrown at the management teams that are running the business. It's absolutely important to have a clear understanding where the costs of the organization are and how you can impact those costs, and where you have opportunities to further optimize your cost structure and help the organization save money, where it makes sense to invest into building up additional headcount, and where you might be able to reduce or create efficiencies in the organization to fund for future growth. So a deep understanding of your overall cost of employment that's related to your headcount and to your labor costs is absolutely critical. Now you might say, well, we have good reporting coming out of our HR and finance systems. Maybe your organization has invested into platforms like Workday as a global HRIS system, or SAP, or Oracle, and that's great. However, what I would say is what we see with a lot of organizations, typically the most accurate and reliable and also detailed information about your employees and about the associated cost of labor sits within the payroll systems, within the local payroll solutions. So that's why even if you have a consolidated HR, global HR system or global finance system, putting in place reporting that can help to complement and further fill in the picture that you might be already gaining from your HR platform and from your finance platform can be very important to give you even further deeper understanding of the cost situation and your employees. When you are trying to consolidate data and build reports, then that can be very, very time consuming. So that's part of the role that payroll folks will be asked to play. Someone will ask a question for payroll to pull together some data, and in a lot of organizations that alone, just pulling together these reports, these might be standard reports that you're creating on a monthly basis, or in a lot of cases could also be just ad hoc reports that someone in management is asking to see some information on, that can take hours and hours or days. And in a lot of cases, by the time you finally manage to pull all the local data together and bring it together in one central report, that data is already outdated. And while you're doing that, of course, that takes away your valuable time and attention from focusing on more strategic value-added topics as well. So you need better tools in order to reduce the time that you spend on reporting. Now, having a solid consolidated reporting base also makes it a lot easier to ensure strong data validation. as you now have all your data organized in a consistent manner centrally, and you can then start to cross-check that data more readily against data that is coming out of or resides in other systems. For example, you can start to cross-check data that you're seeing in your payroll system about your employees with data that you may be pulling from your HR system, such as vacation days that have been taken, and vacation balances, and you can cross-check that also against data that would be building up or should be building up in your finance system. Just validate what we're tracking here in the payroll environment. How does that tick and tie with data that we're collecting out of some of our other systems as well? And finally, by providing real business insights based on strong data, transparency, and helping the organization drive some key business decisions, we believe this is also a opportunity for payroll to take on a more strategic role in the organization, to elevate the visibility and the credibility within the organization overall. So ultimately, back to my introductory comments about having data at your disposal is absolutely important and will help the organization make better decisions, identify opportunities for a cost optimization, will help you save time within your team, and that's very important and very powerful for the entire organization. Now, it's important when we're talking about reporting that even though we're talking about reporting in the context of payroll specifically and HR, there are a variety of different stakeholders that would be catered to, or that you should be considering as you're thinking about how you build up and what kind of reporting capabilities would be important for you to put in place. Because a lot of the reporting is not just for the payroll professionals. There's other interested parties involved in the reporting environment, and the reporting landscape as well. So one clearly would be your finance team, the finance organization. Finance is always hungry for data, right? I haven't met a CFO who doesn't love data and reports and some good charts, and so what they're typically really interested in and really looking for out of payroll and HR related data is to get a better sense about the labor cost involved in running the business, and things like being able to, in real time, drive some comparisons and trends, look at how's the cost of employment in one part of organization in a certain country, for example. How does that compare to the cost of employment that we're seeing in another part of our organization? Will be very important for finance and for the CFO to help make important decisions about where to allocate investments for the organization. Other things like just being able to make sure that the appropriate accruals have been built in the financial systems for things like vacation balances or pensions that need to be accounted for. For those purposes, critical that you can present accurate, reliable, consolidated information to your finance team. Ultimately, of course, all your payroll data that you're executing in your payroll systems needs to be reconciled into your general ledger systems, into your finance systems. So driving automated updates out of your payroll into your general ledger systems will be another thing that the finance team will be looking for. The more that can be automated and done in real time, and they don't have to wait for a few days in order to update their finance systems, that will be a very, very, very powerful benefit for the finance team. So finance one. Then we have, of course, HR as another stakeholder for reporting. From an HR perspective, typically the HR team will want to understand things like headcount changes, employee turnover. They will want to get a better sense for their specific areas or pockets within the organization where high employee turnover is a specific issue that needs to be paid attention to, or absenteeism, where people are out on sick leave. So tracking those kind of key indicators and metrics is something that HR will typically want to get their hands on. Other things are becoming more important over the last few years. Certainly, would be things like gender-based reporting capabilities, being able to draw pictures of how we're paying our employees, broken down by gender. In some countries, in fact, that's becoming a mandatory reporting requirement. So being able to pull that kind of reporting information together quickly will be critical. And then always compensation and benefit benchmarks. As HR looks at how to calibrate compensation across the organization, having real, actual data at their disposal, and kind of full compensation picture as well, not just the base salary, but all the additional pay components that might add to the overall compensation picture, bonuses and commissions and other benefits that the employee receives are very valuable information to HR professionals. Then we have line managers, line management, people running departments or business units or teams. They will want to have just core employee data visibility, tracking hours worked, sick leave, vacation, overtime about the employees in their part of the organization. And then also being able to see trends or run comparisons between different cost centers or stores. For example, we see that in the retail environment, particularly very important to have some really good detailed broken down data about labor costs and labor trends such as employee turnover, to see that for the line management. And finally, of course, there is payroll. So we're talking about payroll reporting. So payroll will obviously want to benefit from information. You have needs that relate, for example, to just validating your data that's being generated in payroll, running variance reports, either previous period or current period, or input changes pushed into the payroll process and what's coming back out of the gross net calculation. Those kind of reports are very important. And then also tracking operational SLAs, measuring the performance, the response time, the on-time execution of the payroll process will be very important statistics to keep track of for the payroll team. So as you define your overall global reporting strategy, it's really important to understand the different reporting needs. And certainly as you're trying to define what kind of reporting environment you want to create, it would be very important to sit down and solicit the input from the various different stakeholders that are listed here, and there might be other specific ones as well in the organization, to be involved in that exercise, in that process, and help you define what exactly the kind of reports and the metrics are that are crucial for the organization to address all the specific needs that exist. Now, in terms of building up a consolidated global reporting environment, as we're working with lots of different organizations around the globe, small and large, there are a few key best practices that we kind of pick up on that we believe are important to focus on and to try to put in place as you're building your global reporting environment. So number one, as we talked about at the beginning, when you're looking at payroll, you're working in payroll, you're working in an HR system environment, invariably you will have lots of different data sources, and they won't be coming from the same system or the same vendor. So one of the first very important things that your reporting solution needs to be able to address is it needs to be independent and agnostic, needs to be able to work across lots of different data sources and be able to flexibly pull information from those data sources into your central reporting environment. And this could be from the local payroll systems, but should typically also extend just not just focus on payroll data, but also you might want to pull in data from time and attendance systems or from benefit systems. So a high degree of flexibility in that reporting solution, be able to import lots of different types of data is very, very important, very powerful to get the most out of your reporting solution. Then secondly, the ability to configure the reporting environment to your specific needs. When we talk to some of our clients, what they experience with other traditional reporting solutions is that they do get reports, they do get consolidated reports being sent to them. But in a lot of cases, those are kind of one-size-fits-all standard reports. They're not tailored to their specific ways of looking at their business and thinking about their data. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, what happens with those reports is they end up in a drawer and no one really looks at them because they just don't line up with the interpretation, how the organization thinks about their data structures and the way they want to look at information in their organization. So we believe it's very important that there's a good amount of configurability, that you're able to specify what metrics, what data fields you put into your reporting environment, how you map your different local pay elements to a consistent global reporting structure. Next, it's great when you have consolidation and you have kind of harmonized data at a global level, but that's really only worth anything if you're able to still then drill down into the specific local details. If you can't reconcile that global data with the original source data all the way down to the local pay elements and down to the local employees, it will be very difficult to gain the credibility and the trust in the data that you're aggregating from the various different stakeholders, from your finance team, from your local country managers. So it needs to be able to span the from the local data all the way up to the global data and allow you to have the aggregate view, but then also give you the drill downs into the lower levels of detail. We believe reporting should be highly self-serviceable. We talked about different stakeholders already, coming out of finance and HR and line management, and rather than people sending requests into a central team or to the vendor and saying we'd like to see this kind of report, and it takes days or weeks to build up those reports. We believe you need to have the ability to access your data and build up the reports that are important for your specific role and for your specific needs. So that's part of I think a modern day reporting environment doesn't work in the way where you send a request and say, can you please create this kind of report and send it back to me by next week. You should be able to just log in and have your own custom ability to configure reports and build them up and analyze them, cut the slice of the data the way you want to see it. And that also leads to the last point. Data analytics and reporting should be real time. I've done a lot of spreadsheet building, and I used to be a consultant, so I used to work a lot with different kind of analyses and data. And typically what you find is the first time you run a report, it's not the right way you structured your data. You got to go back and refine it. You you discover something that looks exciting, looks interesting, but now you need to slice deeper and figure out some additional parameters around that data. So that's why we believe that reporting should be built in a way where it can be tweaked in real time, and you can be interactive in how you get into your data and start to see exactly the way you're trying to get kind of under the surface and see what's really what really is shaping up the data, what the underlying drivers are. Okay. So with that being said, let's take a very quick call this the sneak peek at what that can look like. So I'm going to switch my screen here, and I want to walk you just through a very high level quick teaser of what some of the things are that you can do in the Payzaar reporting environment. So here's a snapshot. This is what we call a global payroll dashboard. And what this gives you is just a high level overview of some of the core payroll metrics or data points that you would want to keep track of. Your gross pay, total employee contributions. So this would be in addition to what you're paying to the employee in terms of gross amounts, taxes, Social Security contributions that the employer pays, employee deductions, and then we can also keep track here of the headcount. All of this is interactive and dynamic. I can scroll back and forth and see different time horizons. I could cut and slice this by different by quarterly or by annual slices, and I can drill down into more underlying details of data. If I want to see, for example, just my European population, how the data is shaping up for my European population, I just unselect the other geographies, and I can drill down all the way down to the individual country level. Okay. Now I'm going to click all the countries back in, so we have more data to work with. Now this is just high level. I can now drill down and see more of the underlying details, what's building up this data. So I can see my headcount, for example. When I click into that graph, I can see how my headcount has been changing over time and how it's been trending. I can see the breakdown. I can see the breakdown here by country. I can see the breakdown by country, and I can click into any parts of my graphs to pull up more details about that specific data point. So, for example, here, if I want to see where did I have these leavers exit the organization, I just click on the leavers, and it shows me where those leavers were leaving the organization. I can see also down here who those leavers were. So it's a very quick, real-time, powerful way for me to start to see some more details about what's going on in my organization. I can do similar things with my gross pay data. So any of these different paths I can click into in similar ways and start to click down and drill down into country by country comparisons, pay element by pay element comparisons. And what's nice here is if I see something and I want to see more about, let's say, Brazil, I just click on the graph. It opens up more details underneath. And I can drill all the way down to the individual employee level. Okay. So this is one way I can start to get a deeper sense of my payroll data and run some interesting comparisons or see some interesting trends that I might be that I might want to understand at a deeper level. By the way, I can extract the data at any time when I see something that I like, that I think is interesting. I can run an extract and send that off to someone in the organization to let them have a look at that. I can then also come into what we call a data analyzer, and I can start to build up my own specific custom reports for some very concrete queries that I might want to run. So for example, here we've built a query to find any employee who got paid a bonus between $2,000 and $5,000 in the last pay period across North America and all of our European countries. So I can just click in here, and here is aggregated across all the different countries, employees that meet that specific criteria, bonus payouts between 2,000 and 5,000 euros. So I can, not to get too much into the details, I can decide what pay elements, what data points I want to have in the report, and I can set certain conditions that I want to shape the data by in order to get to exactly the kind of data set that is important to me, which normally this kind of query would probably take several days to just pull the data from the local systems and then start populating it, copying and pasting it into a consolidated spreadsheet, and then start to run your qualifications, your queries on it. So some other examples, you can do this not just within your payroll data. This is the other thing that I want to highlight, is you can do this by pulling data in out of your payroll system and also out of your other adjacent systems, your HR system or your benefit system. So here in this case, for example, we modeled something where you're pulling data out of your core HR system, things like your employee's address or job level information, even things like performance rating. It would be things that you can import, and then you can mash that up with information that ultimately then comes out of your payroll system. So things like salary and overtime and so on. So it's a very quick, convenient, powerful way to bring lots of different data elements together in one central place and start to analyze it. Okay. So I won't get into more details here. I just wanted to give you a very quick idea of what that kind of reporting environment can look like. What we do in the background is we just pull data from the different local source systems, and that gets me also to talking a bit about what it takes and what it looks like to implement a solution like this. So the way we do it, we can import different source data from various different systems, whether it's payroll, HR, benefits, time and attendance systems, through different mechanisms. A lot of cases can be as simple as just a basic flat file that you attach and upload, and then it starts to populate our database. We have a smart data import and mapping mechanism that allows us to recognize what the different data fields are that are being imported through the from the local file extract, and then map it to exactly the right database category or the database field within our data structure. In the way that our system is designed, we can accept a lot of different input formats. So I know some of the global payroll vendors have fairly rigid flexiform constructs where you need to set the data exactly into the shape that they can work with. In our case, as long as we receive the information about, here's all the employees, and we have a unique identifier that's associated with the employee and what the different data elements are that are sitting in that data import that we're pulling in, we can then point that to the right database elements within our environment and start to build up the data infrastructure and build the reports. I won't be able to show this to you right now, but in our reporting environment, we have some pre-default reporting categories that you can pick and choose from in order to structure and map your data. But it's also customizable, where you can further tailor the way you map your data coming out of your different source systems to the specific categories that you think they should be associated with. So what we would do is would sit down with you, would show you how you map and tailor the data structure exactly to your needs. So you can, in a self-service manner, set this up for yourself and define exactly how you want to see the reports, which is also, this point about you don't need an IT team to build up the reports. Everything is click and drop. There's no coding required. And that also means it can be done very, very quickly. So we set up these kind of reporting environments like the demo environment that I just shown you with our customers that would be pulling information across 10, 15, 20, 25 different countries. We can do that in a matter of days. As long as the data within the local systems is reasonably well organized and structured, and we can access that information to set up that kind of mapping and bringing that data into our environment is done in a few days, and you'll be up and running and get your hands on the reports. So with that, that's kind of what we wanted to cover in a quick roundabout manner with you for this webinar today. So just to sum up what we covered here, I think it's clear that payroll and HR reporting is very complex, just given the environment that payroll operations are operating in, with lots of different source systems and changing data structures that you have to deal with. Having strong insights into your employee data, I think in today's environment is more important than ever. There's a lot of focus on how to get more efficient, how to increase the effectiveness of the organization. So identifying where you have opportunities, where the organization has opportunities to do better, and where to invest by looking at your data is critical. We talked a bit about the best practices that we see being deployed with global payroll solutions. By default, it needs to be flexible and independent to work with lots of different source systems, and it needs to be easy to deploy. And while it might seem daunting to start with, we have great experience that these kind of solutions can be set up in a matter of days, and can you get up and running and give you the insights that your organization are looking for within a matter of days. So with that, let me. This is kind of taking us to the end of at least the prepared remarks for the session. So I want to first of all thank you all again for joining us and being with us today. And at this point, like to open up for any comments or questions that folks might have on the call here. So you should be able to, if you do want to ask a question, you should be able to unmute yourself. Or if somehow that doesn't work, you can should be able to chat through the chat, ask your question that way as well.
Hello, Adriana Rios.
Yes, Adriana. Hello.
I would like to ask, do you implement, or do you have some implementation in Mexico?
We do, yeah. So we're global, by nature of our business. Obviously, we operate globally. We're probably didn't mention this at the beginning. We're a company based out of Ireland, but we serve clients around the world. So we do have Latin American clients as part of our customer portfolio as well. Are you from Mexico? Are you operating in Mexico specifically?
Yes, I operate in Mexico for different countries. As you know, in shared service model, the main operation is a Mexican.
Okay.
Employees.
Yeah.
Manufacture. My other question is, I ask this because we have an electronic process with IRS. They ask for a specific report. This means my system is SAP, prepare information through interface to send a government vendor, and they back the information to me. And it's missing to a report where I can review the information that the authority back.
Okay.
Therefore, I ask if you have experience in Mexico with this specific process, is CFDI or electronic payslip.
I'd love to take a look at that, Adriana. I'm not that deep into the specific Mexican environment, but we certainly can get someone, you know, on the phone together with you, and we can dive deeper into that if you'd like to do that. I'd love to follow up and, you know, talk with you more in depth about that specific reporting need that you're describing for. It sounds like the Mexican tax reporting requirements.
Yeah.
Drop us an email. You see the email address here, we also obviously have your email address. Someone from our team will follow up, and we will set up some time to discuss that specific challenge with you in more detail.
Thank you so much. It's interesting, your product. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for your interest and for your question. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts or comments? How you're reporting today? Maybe even that would be interesting to hear. Your experience.
Mark, we have a question on the chat.
Yeah, what I can see it here from Susan. What industries have you implemented your tool? Coming from an entertainment industry. Okay, what industry? I mean, we have over 60 or so clients. You know, I would say it's a broad cross section of different industries that we're serving. Tech clients, pharmaceuticals, retail, industrial goods. Is there? I don't know if Susan's able to unmute herself. Maybe not. But I'm wondering if there's specific reporting need or challenge from an entertainment industry perspective that she's referring to. Susan, is she still here? Maybe she's not able to speak. That's all right. We'll follow up with her offline. I know some industries, and entertainment might be one of them, might have some very specific reports that need to get generated. And look, I mean, there's, you know, we just scratched the surface when I showed you a few of the screens in our reporting environment. There's lots of flexibility and kind of configurability and customizability that is built into our platform. So, you know, love to understand the specific challenge that, you know, might be might pertain to the entertainment industry a bit more, and discuss that with you. Okay, I see she wants to benchmark our tools capable of industry peers. Okay, sure. So let's get into that. We'll follow up with you, Susan, offline, and dig deeper into the entertainment industry reporting requirements. Good. Anyone else? Any other questions?
No, thank you.
These are all good. No, I like it. I mean, some very specific, but that's what it comes down to. You know, at the end of the day, reporting needs to fit to the specific needs. So that's why I think these are very good and valid questions to raise. Okay, if not, then we'll wrap it up here. We'll give everyone 9 minutes back of their time, and thank you again for joining us, and hope to talk to you soon again. We'll follow up with the slides from the webinar today. Have a good rest of the day.